The craziest cultural impact of Minecraft is that it taught all of us how to count in base 64. Like when we use the word stack to refer to a full inventory space and then we start over counting when we have more items, that's literally how base 64 counting works.
That's not how base 64 system works. Our system is a base 10 system, which means we count out from 1 all the way up to 9 and then start over with 1 on this side and a 0 on this side, indicating there is 1 10 and 0 1s. So in a base 64 system, you would count up from 1 all the way up to 63 and then start over from 1 and a 0 in this place, meaning there is 1 64 here and 0 1s. Let me give you a better example. In binary or base 2 system, you never actually use the number 2 in a base 2 system. You have 0 and you have 1, indicating 1. And then if you have one more, plus 1, then you start over in the new decimals place. 1 0, indicating 2. So you have 0 1s and 1 2. In this instance, 10 in binary would equal 2 in base 10 system. And if you wanted to add one more, it would be 11, which would be 3 in base 10. And if you wanted to add one more, it would be 100, because you could have to add one more, which would carry it over. You have to add one more here, which would carry it over, and you would end up with 1 here and 0 in these two places. So 100 in base 2 is 4 in base 10. What I'm trying to say is in a base 2 system, 2 is never actually used, which means that in a base 64 system, 64 would never actually be used. You would never count up to 64 and then start over when you added one more. You would count up to 63, because this is wrong. Also in a base 64 system, you would have to have individual symbols representing the digits from 10 continuing all the way up to 63. What I mean by this is, for example, in a base 12 system, you count up from 1 all the way to 11, but 11 is not represented by a 1 and a 1 because that's 2 decimal places. It is represented by B, and 10 is represented by A. So you would count up from 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth, A, B, and then you'd start over with 1 here and 0 here. And then you would count up again, 1, 2, all the way up, A, B. So in a base 12 system, you could have 1A or 1B, which would be represented, this is base 12, this would be represented by 112 and 11, which in base 10 would be 23. You would have 1B in a base 12 system would be 23 in a base 10 system. The same way 1A would be 22. So what I'm trying to say by this is you have to have separate symbols for all the numbers up to 63 in a base 64 system. So when you say that Minecraft teaches us how to count in a base 64 system, that is in fact false. It teaches us to count in a base 65 system because you have a stack, which is 1 decimal place. 64 items, and then when you add one more, you carry it over to the next stack or the next slot, which is a base 65 system, not a base 64 system, because if it were a base 64, you would not count up to 64 and then start over, you would count up to 63. This goes for also base 16, this goes for base 8, and it goes for base 4. It's important to understand that Minecraft doesn't teach you to count in base 64 because I told you so. And if you're bored by this, you're welcome. I just wasted your time.